I am a river. Like every river, I begin as mountain headwaters and meander over rock and soil down to the sea, where clouds and wind carry ocean waters back to me. I am the eternal cycle of water. I am connected to things great and small. The marsh on the mountain with its beaver and cattail, the brook that rushes down the mountain into the valley, bringing cold, clear water for mayfly and trout. I am the lake in the forest, the spring in the meadow, the pitcher of water on the kitchen table. I am the lifeblood of a watershed, and all the land that slopes down to my shores. The Delaware River receives my flow. For 100 miles we run together, joined as a family of rivers, to meet the tidal surge of the bay. Born of glacial ice, I have witnessed the passing of giant elk, and the humans who lived along my banks, fished my pools, and splashed in my shallows 10,000 years ago. I am their history, and I am your history. Drawn by my power and permanence, your ancestors built their towns and factories around me. I, river of life, am a constant thread linking land and water, soil and mineral, plant and animal, farm and town. I am Musconetcong River, generous provider for all. Do you know me? Listen to the river. If it could speak, imagine what it could tell us. For the Musconetcong has been a vital part of people's lives ever since humans first lived along its banks over 10,000 years ago. The river also tells our own history. The early American colonists built water-powered mills to grind grain and saw lumber. During the Industrial Revolution, the Musconetcong River, Lake Musconetcong, and the Morris Canal carried boats loaded with coal that fueled the furnaces of a vital iron industry. Above all, the Musconetcong River is part of a natural ecosystem, defined by its 157 square mile watershed. The watershed is the area of land that drains to the river. It includes the tributary lakes and streams, wetlands, ponds, groundwater, towns and farms, and other features that are part of the local ecosystem. The Musconetcong Watershed begins above Lake Kapatcong, New Jersey's largest spring-fed lake, and stretches nearly 60 miles to the Delaware River. The river itself forms the borders of Hunterdon, Morris, Sussex, and Warren counties. 26 townships, boroughs, and towns fall within the natural boundaries of the Musconetcong River watershed. The watershed remains a vital resource for the people and industries that depend on clean and abundant water supplies. In densely populated areas such as Hackettstown, wastewater from homes and businesses is collected and piped to a municipal sewage treatment plant, where it is cleaned up and put back into the river. The most important and least understood watershed resource is groundwater. It is the primary source of drinking water. Groundwater also supplies the streams and lakes with a steady supply of cold, fresh water. The Musconetcong River watershed is perhaps best known as a destination for fishing. People come from miles around to fish the pools and riffles of the Muskie for trout. And the lakes of the upper watershed draw many thousands of boaters and fishermen each year. The Musconetcong is also one of the best-kept secrets for canoeing and kayaking. Local canoe clubs consider the river to be a favorite destination because of its splendid scenery and challenging rapids. Hiking, picnicking, tubing, swimming, and just plain relaxing by the water are also favorite activities in the watershed. The Musconetcong watershed is also a popular destination for tourists who come simply to enjoy the outstanding scenery, historic villages, and picturesque farms. The Musconetcong watershed is important to the local economy. because fishermen, boaters, and tourists visit bait shops, restaurants, and other local businesses when they come to enjoy the river, lakes, and green open spaces. Above all, the Musconetcong River watershed is a place where people live and work. The river is the lifeblood that connects the towns, villages, and farms from Lake Opatcong to the Delaware River. People depend on watershed resources every single day, but these precious natural resources cannot be taken for granted. Even though the Musconetcong Watershed is recognized as one of New Jersey's most pristine regions, it is not without problems. Much progress has been made cleaning up point source pollution from industrial and other sites. However, non-point source pollution, or polluted runoff, degrades water quality in the watershed. When it rains, there is always the threat that sediment, oil, fertilizers, and other pollutants will be washed into the nearest waterway from roads, parking lots, lawns, construction sites, and farms. In some sections of the river and its tributary lakes, it is unsafe to swim due to high levels of bacteria from a variety of potential sources, including waterfowl, livestock, and failing home septic systems. New development in the watershed can generate non-point pollution problems. That is, unless we make watershed protection principles a cornerstone of local zoning and development regulations. Addressing point source pollution is relatively simple because it is usually easy to identify and correct problems. However, non-point pollution is not always easy to recognize or control. For example, many people do not realize that serious water pollution problems can occur when soil is allowed to wash into a lake or river. Sediment pollution is one of the most harmful pollution problems. Each of us can play a role in attacking non-point pollution, and the key is awareness. People are beginning to understand that what we do on the land can either benefit or harm our favorite brook, stream, or lake. That is what the watershed approach is all about. We all live downstream from someone else, and we depend on those who live upstream to do the right thing. There are many ways to improve environmental quality in the watershed. For instance, the Musconetcong Watershed Association, a local citizens group, has been removing tons of litter from riverbanks and roadways each year. They are busy teaching students in local schools about the importance of the watershed to their own families' lives. Some local governments have adopted more rigorous laws to ensure that future development does not harm watershed resources. Soil conservation agencies are working with farmers to reduce the use of fertilizers and pesticides and prevent soil erosion from polluting the river. But no individual or organization can do it alone. The complex job of protecting the watershed requires the cooperation of the entire watershed community. The good news is that a cooperative watershed planning effort is already underway. The New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection's Division of Watershed Management has brought together people from agriculture, industry, local and county governments, conservation organizations, and other groups to begin a watershed planning process. The first step is for those with a stake in the watershed to identify and put a priority on environmental problems. This information will be used to develop a watershed management plan that spells out solutions for protecting and restoring natural resources. That is where you come in. Why not get involved in the watershed planning effort? Find out ways to make your home and lawn more environmentally friendly. Support your local watershed association's efforts to make watershed protection and education a priority for your community. Remember, we all depend upon watershed resources. Our drinking water supplies, lakes, and streams are vulnerable to pollution and depletion. Protecting watershed resources is everyone's responsibility because we all live downstream.
also grow up in a state that knows its limitations. We know that open land is at a premium, and we must preserve it. We know that clean air is invaluable, and we must safeguard it. And we know that clean water is priceless, and we must do all we can to protect our watersheds. Let me talk for a moment about watersheds and what they mean to our future. Every one of us lives in a watershed. New Jersey has 20 watershed management areas. Watersheds are nature's boundaries, areas of land with common water sources that feed into each other, such as streams, lakes, and aquifers. Today we are fortunate to have with us John Brunner, who runs the Musconetcong Watershed Association in Baby Stevens area of the state. For years, John has been teaching local residents about watersheds and about the connections between what we do in our own homes and the impact it has on our communities. We all live downstream, as he puts it. Thank you, John, very much. As John can tell you, sharing a water supply means sharing responsibility. The shampoo that runs down your drain in one part of that watershed, the motor oil that washes into a storm sewer a few miles away, and a factory's daily discharge on the far side of that same watershed may all affect a common water source. The quality of water is a vital concern. So is the quantity of water, as last summer's drought reminded us all. Unfortunately, as New Jersey has poured more concrete, cut down more woodlands, and built more buildings, we have put watersheds at risk, whether through saltwater intrusion along the coast or groundwater contamination farther inland. Saving land will help, but it's just as important to recognize that where we put sewers, roads, and new buildings can affect an entire watershed. I know that the legislature takes this issue seriously, with Senators John Bennett and Assemblyman